excited because this is one of the first grimoires that I ever possessed. My mother bought this book for me when I was very small. It's Secret Spells and Curious Charms. And the author is Monika Beisner. Now, I was probably about 5 or 6 when my mother purchased this book for me. Apparently this is a first edition, but it's also an ex-library copy. However, it's in really good shape. The copy that I had was a paperback book. But the frontispiece says, "Need to know how to charm a toad, find a fortune, avoid bad luck, travel as fast as the fastest hawk." In this lively retelling of traditional lore, Monika Beisner's spells and charms will delight those of all ages who like to dabble in the art of magic. Okay, I think first of all, before I really get into my walkthrough of this book, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'd like to show you a little bit of the inside. It's important to talk about how introducing your children to magic at too young an age can be very dangerous for them. I have astral projected in my sleep since I was very small, and my mother was more than willing to give me a book like this, but wasn't really equipped to talk to me about how these phenomena like astral projection or interacting with people on the astral plane could affect my life. And there were different points in my life where there were things that were going on that were not good. But it had nothing to do with the physical world, but I was suffering depression because of it. I thought I was in danger of demonic possession at one point. Well, at a few points, but it wasn't something that my mother was equipped to instruct me in. And honestly, when she gave me this book, I think she casually said something like, "Don't try any of the spells in this book." Not because they won't work, but because, you're not mature enough to handle it or something. But if you say something like that to a 5-year-old, and then you give your 5-year-old a book like this, it's kind of sending a mixed message. Now, I didn't do any of these spells until I was in my early teens, right? But really be careful about the things that you're talking to your kids about, and I really would encourage anybody who's interested in having kids, I really encourage you to get a good foundation spiritually with yourself, so that if something happens to them, you'll be equipped to deal with it. Even my aunt is a very strongly metaphysical person and has a lot of experience with a lot of different disciplines. privilege. And anybody who doesn't believe in any kind of phenomena, it's because they haven't ever had it intrude in their life in a way that was deleterious to them. So just remember that. But that said, obviously I did purchase my own copy of this book. I think my mother may still have the other copy, but I wanted to not run the risk of her not remembering what it was or having to talk to her about it, really. The artwork in here is stunning. Really beautiful stuff. Really beautiful. And very, it's a very well executed book. But even here on the very first page, they're talking about charming a toad as a familiar. And of course, here is a spell that you can accomplish to travel as fast as a hawk. And it involves, getting all of these different ingredients and powdering them and keeping them in a sheep's bladder and placing them in the pages of a book, possibly this book. And there are a lot of, poems in here. This one about a wishing spell with some pins and some stones and some flowers. All of these who kills a spider, bad luck betides her. I still live by that. Breaking eggshells to bits so that witches can't use them for boats. That left an impression on me. Another thing you might have noticed about this book is that the margins are very wide. So that if you wanted to, you could make your own notes about when you performed a certain spell and how the event went. I think as far as a grimoire is concerned, it's actually very well constructed. Here's one about taking revenge on somebody who has done you harm. Writing a square on a leaf and then burning the leaf and then wrapping cord around your arm. Probably something like a binding spell. I thought this one was about finding your true love in a dream, but it's very interesting how my memories of this book are slightly different now that I'm looking back at it. I definitely thought there was something in here about boiling pins against somebody who has wronged you, but that's not in here. This one about four-leaf clovers and cat people. This one for sure. Beware of that man, be he friend or brother, whose hair is one color and mustache another. And of course, course, the funny thing about that being that literally every guy I've ever known has had different colored facial hair than his hair color. Some of them are just very silly, like, if you stand on a line, you'll marry a swine. If you stand on a square, you'll marry a bear. Oh, okay. I think maybe this was the one that I did. There was another one about writing that square on the leaf, but I wanted to know who I was going to fall in love with and marry, and so I had tried this spell because, and I don't know if I said our names together or not, because I was kind of like, whoever I'm gonna fall in love with, I want them to love me a lot or something. I want to know who I'm gonna marry. And that's not really what this spell is designed for, so I'm not entirely certain. I don't remember how I did it. I was 13, and I might have been 11. I was anywhere between like 11 and 13. And all of my journals from that time have since been destroyed, you know. Who really wants to hold on to that period of their life, right? It's kind of, painfully awkward, but that's that spell. It's basically, you take 3 strings representing Earth, Sun, and Moon, and you tie them together in an earthenware pot, and you add some juice of the jasmine flower, and you press it together to form an ink, and then you steep a piece of white cloth in barley water and dry it, and you write the square on that piece of fabric in the first hour of the day. So that would be like the planetary hour of the planetary day. And you start to write the square on the cloth, and you hold it between 2 stones in your room. And when it's been there for 2 nights, you take it out and you say the names of the 2 people that are supposed to be together, and you repeat it for 3 days. And I remember doing this spell, but I don't remember how, like I said, I think I changed it because I wanted to know who I was going to end up falling in love with and marrying, so I had changed it slightly. And I don't remember how many of these things I actually did, as opposed to like switching them out for other things. But I will tell you that it did work, and I didn't find out, of course. You'll have a dream like that, but you won't find out until later that it was true. So in some ways, does it really matter if you had a prophetic dream if it doesn't make any sense? Like if you dream about a smartphone, but it's like the 1800s, that's not going to make any sense to you. You're going to be like, what is this bewitched book, right? So it was something like that, where I ended up having a really vivid dream about the person that I would end up marrying, but that it didn't have a lot of context for me at the time because I didn't know that person. There was no way I was going to know them for another like 20 years, so anyway, Secret Spells and Curious Charms by Monika Beisner. I will put a link in the description as well. And I definitely recommend checking it out. It's not a terribly expensive book. It's from, I think, like 1985, which I would have been, very very small when that book was released. And it's a great book, but just, if you're gonna set your kids on a certain path, be aware of what you're doing when you do it, and be ready to guide them. Thank you so much for joining me today. I always love seeing you guys. If you enjoyed story time, please let me know down in the description box. Or if you've had experiences with this book that you'd like to share, please let me know those as well. Or other books that you would like to recommend that are in the same vein. Please do like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. And until next time, I hope to see you again very,